Hello guys, welcome to Thermomix Adventures. My name is Lisa Keegan and today we're doing something a little different. I'm actually going to show you about our microgreens because a lot of you guys have asked, Lisa, how do you do it? And today I'm going to show you how to actually set up for your own microgreen system. Now, microgreens are great because they're actually really nutrient dense. They are all the nutrients that might be in a big lettuce leaf, but in the teeny tiny form. So it means that you can eat, say, a couple of tablespoons on a salad, on a wrap, on our breakfast we have them, and it's actually the equivalent of eating all those massive amounts of lettuce leaves, but you're only actually eating a little bit. So you've got all that extra potassium and iron and all sorts of good stuff in there. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to do this. Now, we did originally start our journey with microgreens with a system called micropods. I'll put it in the comments below so you can find them. I think it was about $59 to get started with them. You got a little kit. It was about this big. It had a little tray on it, and they would send you little mats that go on top and it would grow your microgreens. So that was fantastic, except we were going through it too fast. So we bought a second tray and we still couldn't keep up. So then we started going, well, how can we do this ourselves? So that's what I'm going to show you today because it's actually really cost effective to do it yourself. Now, there's a couple of things you'll need. So I'll take you through that today. The first one obviously is something to grow it in. So you do need a seedling raising mix, okay? So it's about $10 for a big bag at your local Mitre 10, Bunnings, whatever it might be. All right, so obviously you need something to grow it in. But then you need some trays. Now, there's two types of trays that we use. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you what we do. That's what I know. And these are our trays. They're actually super cheap. And again, I'll put the link, I'm not affiliated with them, in the chat down the bottom. But there's two types of trays. One has no holes in it. Okay, it's a fully contained tray. It's going to be a drip tray underneath. There's a second tray you'll use, and mine's actually half already filled with the dirt. And I think this one's like $4.50. It's actually not expensive. This one here has, I don't know if I can show you, but you're gonna have to believe me, it's got little holes in underneath. Okay, so it actually allows the water to seep up into the dirt, okay, into the seedling raising mix. Now, laid in that, underneath the actual soil in there, are some paper. All right, and you can buy them as well. So all up, I think it was $4.50, $3.50, and about $4 for this as well. All right, and you do need two of these. Okay, I'm going to show you why in a second. That may not make sense yet, but you do need two of the ones that don't have holes in it. Okay, so you'll need a spare of that. So this then lays in the bottom. We then put the soil on top, the seedling raising mix on top of that. This just stops you losing all the seedling raising mix out into your drip tray. It just stops it, okay? It looks like butcher's paper. It probably just is, but anyway, it fits the trays, so I figured that would do me. So what do we do then? Well, you also need some seeds, okay? Now, you don't want to just go down to your local Bunnings, Mitre 10 and buy normal seeds because you need a fair amount of seeds. That's the thing. So you actually want to get onto somewhere like, and I got all this stuff from australianwheatgrass.com.au. Again, I'll put the link in the bottom. And you want to buy it in bulk. So this is actually Mizuna green lettuce. That's what it is. It's a 500 gram bag. And yes, it is $30, but this is probably going to be 12 months worth of greens for us. So you can buy the 100 gram bag for about $9, I think it was. So all up, you know, not an expensive venture really when it comes to it. So let me show you how to start putting this together. So in here, I've got this is the one that's got the holes in it, and it's got the paper in the bottom and then the seedling raising mix mostly in there already. I'm going to sit that inside my drip tray. Okay, just put that in underneath. And that's how it's actually going to sit for the next 10 days. Okay, it's going to sit with the drip tray underneath. You're going to make sure that's always got water in it because that's how it's going to be sucking the liquid up inside, and that's how it's going to sit. So at the moment, I've got the kids to fill this tray for me, but actually if you look, they've actually filled it a little low. If I'm trying to snip off these greens later, I'm going to have trouble getting my scissors in there. So I need to put a bit more on top. Now, we don't compact it down. The little seeds can't cope if you compact it down. So you actually want to keep it pretty loose but flat because otherwise the water pools. So I'll just put some more in, take out any of the big chunks. The seeds can't penetrate through the big chunks, and spread it out. All right, so we wanted about I don't know, a centimetre down from the top. So just spread it around, take out any big chippy bits. Most of the time your seedling mix, and the reason you use seedling mix is actually because it doesn't have massive chunks in it. It's actually got not much bark. It's mostly soil, soft matter, peat, moss, that sort of stuff. So you can see there's a couple of bits there. But the reason is they keep it small so the seedlings can grow through it. Now there is no fertilizer or anything like that in this. It's not needed because we're not getting to that stage of these being big plants. However, you can actually take them out, and we actually take our leftover mix out once it's all spent and we've cut it all, and we put it in the garden, and then some of those leftover seeds will actually regerminate, so we can continue to use this mix. You could put it in a compost pile, those sorts of things as well. It won't re-sprout a beautiful green luscious top on top like you're going to see in about 10 days time. It won't redo that because it's just most of those seeds have now sprouted, but it will certainly do good in a veggie patch and things like that if you just tip it out and make sure it stays wet. So I'm just evening this out all around the sides. You can also, just to flatten it out at the end, there's a big chunk of something there. So this is about a good height because it's going to allow me to get the scissors under the greens and cut that off. Just make sure it's fairly even around the edges. And beautiful. Grab then the spare tray I spoke about and just give it a little press. It's not a hard press, it's just enough to kind of take any marks and indents out. And actually later on, this spare tray's job is to actually sit there like that for 2 to 3 days. And I'll come back to that in a second. So you can see that it's put a little valley in it and stuff, just knock out that valley. And now we're ready for the exciting part of actually putting our little seeds on top. So we need something to do this with. I tend to just use a glass because I can see what I'm doing. And we need an even layer across the whole lot. Now what I don't have yet is I actually don't have any water in here at all yet. I'm going to show you in a second how we do that as well. So at the moment this is all dry. We will need a spray bottle, and we will need, I normally use about 1 centimetre of this. We'll need a spray bottle, and you'll need a thing of water because you're going to actually be putting some water underneath. So that there, let me show you guys, is my little cup. Actually, that's not 1 centimetre, that's more like 2 centimetres. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle this as evenly as we can over the top. Now don't worry about it coming out the sides too much. I've kind of got it down to a fine art. If you're worried about that, put it on some newspaper so you can shake those leftover seeds in. And we just want to really gently shake them around everywhere. Okay, so at the moment, as I said, this is a dry mix still, but we're going to spray it shortly. Okay, so I tend to do the edges first, and then start doing the middle. Okay, try not to get it too clumpy. I kind of have a clump there, but that's okay. They're not sitting on top of each other. They're sitting side by side, but it's certainly not as even as I would have liked. It's okay. Don't play with them too much though. Like, don't get so worried that you start, hand grabbing them out, because what will happen is as you put your hands in there, you'll compact the soil. So just leave them as they are once they come out of the jar. Oh, that's a bit thick in there. Got a bit heavy-handed in haste. Done. So there we go. So we've now sprinkled that with the beautiful seeds. Now we don't cover it. I know your instinct is, oh, I must cover them over. No, we just leave them. Now what we do is we grab our 2 things. We need a spray bottle of water, and we need some water. Now the water goes in the tray underneath. So I'll just make some space here. Now, as I said, these take about 10 days to 2 weeks to actually complete. So that'll be from beginning to end cycle. So it's actually really quite a quick process to have these. We tend to do it every week, so we've always got a new cycle coming. So I've got my base tray out. I want to fill this. I'm going to fill it to about a third with water, just tap water. I don't want to go too high. At the moment, it can't suck up fast enough, so I will need to come back later and put a little bit more in here because it's going to suck into that soil. That's what it's designed to do. So a little bit more, but if I go too high, if I go like half a container, it'll just ooze out the sides. It can't suck out fast enough. So about a third, in it goes. Sit it in its little water trough. All right, and that didn't ooze out the sides at me. Happy days. And then what we're going to do is, let me just bring you guys a little closer, is we're going to spray it. We're going to mist it now. Now we will need to, as I said, over the next 12 hours, come back and check that it gets nice and wet all the way through. Now we don't want it soggy. It's not a soggy, it's actually just a damp. all right? So we will see from underneath that the water starts sucking up. You'll see that that disappears. When it does disappear, put another third in, and you always want to keep it about the third mark when you remove the tray out. Now do as well, make sure from the top that we get, this is not the most ideal spray bottle, by the way. Kids have acquired my other one, but this does the job. It is clean, all right? It is just water in there. But we do want to make sure we give it a really good water all the way around the edges. If you ever see your greens starting to lean one way in the 10-day process, it means they need water. They're looking for a wet patch to get the water from, okay? So we just spray this up. And I will probably, as I said, need to come back in a couple of hours' time and put some more water underneath. So you just lift this off to the side, fill it to the third, and then put it back on again. And that third is a good place to always be keeping it up to in height-wise. So this is probably getting nearly damp enough. And normally I find it takes 2 refills underneath to a third, sometimes a third, depending on the weather, to get this to stay damp enough. Okay, my hands are getting sore from spraying with this sprayer. Normally I just got a normal botter, not one of these ones. But anyway, kids have used it. Just, as I said, make sure you get to the corners, otherwise they'll dry out. And they'll actually dry out the fastest because they're going to be the little bit that's sort of removed. Now, I mentioned earlier about having this second tray. Now, this is important because for the next 3 days, you want to have this sitting on top, covering these beautiful little seedlings. So it's going to sit on top. It is going to allow them to sprout. They actually like to sprout in nearly dark, and the sprouts, when you see them, are going to be, the little greens are actually going to be yellow. They haven't got any of the sunlight yet, so you'll see that they'll be yellow, and these little ones that peek out the sides, they will actually be slightly green. You'll know in, oh, there's an ant, 2 or 3 days time, you will notice that they're starting to lift this lid off. It's coming up on the force of those little greens. That's when it's time to uncover it and give it usually about 10 days, and you have ready to harvest. Just slice them off, the green. So I'm going to come back and show you in 2 days time, 3 days time, what it looks like. And obviously the weather plays a little bit in this, because when it's warmer, they will sprout faster than when it's colder. So I will show you that process. I will return to you in 2 or 3 days time. I will show you what they look like when you should remove the lid. And then we'll show you how to finish them off over the next 10 days as well. So let me know if you decide to embark on your own microgreen growing. Check out the links below and let me know as you go how you find it, how your process is going, your ups and your downs. It is a bit like thermomixing. It's learning something new. But once you master it, you'll be doing this yourself in your own kitchen all the time. So this is going to go, though, out in the sun to be fully sun for the 12 hours-ish a day, and then covered like this until we take it off. So I will see you in a couple of days' time and show you where they're at then. So enjoy, and I'll see you soon. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It has been 3 days. I'm thinking it might actually have been 4 days, and these little microgreens have been doing their best job sprouting. Now, we've actually had crazy weather here, and these would normally sit out on my deck on the northern corner where they get some beautiful sunshine, so it's enough warmth to heat up and germinate these little seeds. But we have had torrential rain for the last 3 days. So I have actually brought them inside, just into a room, and let them do their thing. And it's just worked fine as well. Just an ordinary room, normal light. And you can see, let me just show you under here, they are ready. And there was 2 things that told me they were ready. Number 1, I could see them popping me out the sides. Number 2 was the fact that they've raised the lid up. The top part has now lifted up higher, and that tells me they are ready to get some sunshine. Now you can see, yes, they're very pale. They don't yet, especially not those inside ones, they don't yet have the sunshine yet on them, the light rays to make their leaves go green, that chlorophyll in there. So these need to go out in the sun. Now you can see that they will then very quickly, they'll actually stand up. At the moment they were going outside, they were trying to get out to that light that these outside ones were lucky enough to get. I can also see that actually, surprisingly, it's a bit dry around the outer on this side. That might be the side that wasn't getting drenched on the raining days. So I do need to give them a really good spray at this point in time with my spray bottle. The lid stays off. I also want to keep that water up underneath to about 1/3. At the moment, there's barely any. You guys can see on the camera, there's barely any under there. So from here on in, as you're following along, these are going to go in a sunny spot, whether it be inside, where they're going to get sunshine through a window, or whether it be on a deck or somewhere like that. Make sure bugs can't get to them. You don't want grasshoppers going and sitting on them. We got to keep the water up. They're going to be water hungry. So keep checking underneath once a day. Check that they've still got 1/3 of a tray of water. They're going to keep sucking up the water. And over the next few days, we will see these grow up to nice and high, ready for harvest. You can see some of these outside ones are already starting to prove that they've got a bit of strength in them, but as these stand up, they're going to be beautiful. So I'll come back to you in another 3 days and I'll show you what they look like then, and we'll just go on from there, and I'll keep taking you on this journey. So I hope this is giving you some insight into how you can make your own microgreens at home, really without it costing the earth. So I look forward to seeing you in 3 or 4 days' time. See you then. Welcome back, everybody. We are now at day 10, and look how fantastic these microgreens look. Now they are green, they are luscious, they feel so soft, and it's time to harvest. How cool is that? So 10 days and we're ready. Now it is time to also give them a drink, and we actually don't harvest ours all in one go. So I know some people do. Some people harvest them all, but then once you disconnect them, of course, they're going to die quicker, right? They're going to dry out in the fridge, in the crisper, those sorts of things. So you might put them in a big cotton bag. That will help them last longer. But we kind of now go through little by little over the next probably 5 to 7 days. And this is then what we have couple of meals a day with. So we'll put this on our bacon and eggs in the morning. It'll then go on our sandwiches at lunch with the lettuce and that sort of thing. And it's just full of good stuff. All right, the greens are the good stuff. Now let me just show you under here. You can see how tall they are. They're about 7 centimeters tall now. Now these also, just on that note, these can be planted out. These are actually lettuce, right? And these are baby lettuce. So you could actually very carefully remove one or plant the seeds out straight in and they would be lettuce. They will grow into lettuce. But the idea of a microgreen is that you're harvesting it while it's still a baby, while all the nutrients are really densely populated in the little greens and the stems. So that's the idea behind it. So let me show you how to harvest some, and then I'll show you how we'll water it. And then I can't wait to see you give this a go. All right, so all the links are below as to where I got the things from, what I'm doing with it, all that stuff. You'll find them all there. But it is so cheap and economical to make these yourself. Okay, you don't need a little starter kit. You don't need to do much, barring water them every day if they're dry. And really that's heat dependent. These have been sitting on our back deck, and we've actually had torrential rain for probably 7 out of those 10 days, maybe 6 out of those 10 days. So really these guys have done really well. So let's get into harvesting. So it's really simple. You actually start at a corner. I might try and start at the lower corner, even though I'm going to have to stand out the way a little bit. And we just want to chop them, and you want to chop them right low. You don't want to chop them high. You don't though want to eat dirt either. So what I tend to do is I put my snippers in and I try and go across at the height of the side. They actually look better the closer you get to the insides, but that's okay. We've got to start somewhere, and we just chop them off. And I'll just show you what that looks like. Look at that. Perfect little greens ready to go on your whatever it is. And that's probably how much one of us will have in a morning. So we kind of cut it off in quarters or strips depending on who's doing it. You can see as well that that kind of reveals this in here. Okay, you can see all those stems. You can see some have fallen off. Eat them the next day if you want. They're pretty good 24 hours later still, as long as it's not totally boiling hot. So it doesn't matter if they kind of fall in. You can pick them up as you go along. But you can see how easy that is. Now, they do need the water kept up to them in this period of time still. So all we do, and how I do it through the period, you can see in there, that's actually dry. There's no water in there whatsoever at the moment. They are due for a drink. So what we do is, normally I would just do it with 2 hands and pick up this one and pour it in, but I don't know. I got it. I was gonna say it's flicking up on the table. So all you do is put the water in, put it back down, and there it goes. It's got its drink now. It's good, and that'll be good usually 2 days, but if it's scorching hot in summer, they need a drink every day. What you will see though is if they're starting to get thirsty, they will start leaning all over one way. Normally they go from wherever that last little bit of water is in the container. So if you start seeing them start going strange directions, it's normally a really good sign they need water. Now you're probably wondering, what do I do when I've harvested it all and all I've got left is these little stems? You can't let it regrow. This one doesn't regrow. There are some that do, wheat germ and stuff. They will actually reharvest and reharvest and reharvest a couple of times. This does not. So this actually goes straight out in our garden. We actually keep it upright because what you find is you get lettuces. So some of the ones that didn't germinate first round will be out in the veggie patch and actually create new lettuces from what's left over. So don't throw it out. Don't put it in the bin. Just literally plant the tray then, what's left, the dirt and the leftovers, in your garden, and see what magically appears. All right, so I hope you've given this a go. I hope you'll go back and watch the replay if you haven't given it a go, and then give it a go. Because I tell you, it is so cost effective. It is very good for your health to include this in your diet. It's another way of getting your required vegetables in a day. And really tasty. They are just beautiful to use in so many different ways on your food, and they really look pretty as well. Now, as I said, I've started with lettuce. It doesn't have to be lettuce though. You know, there are other ones. But I would suggest finding a supplier that will sell you the seeds in a bulk pack. You don't want to be buying a whole lot of little seeds. They won't go far enough. Most of the little seeds you get at your normal hardwares and stuff, they've just got 20 seeds. You need more like a couple of hundred seeds. All right, so all the links are below. Let me know your questions along the way if you need a hand with anything in this process. Look, if I can do it, and I would classify myself as not a green thumb, you can do this in your kitchen too. And have a go. Can't wait to hear how you do, but reach out if I can support you in any way with it. Take care, and I look forward to sharing more of our gardening adventures with you soon. Bye for now.